Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but this is me making my very first layout using the Studio Calico roller rink kit, and I got an add-on, I'm not sure which one. So what I'm doing here is my whole idea for this layout came from the little button and badge that came with it that looked like a rainbow, and I had a lot of different papers that can make that rainbow design. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm taking this kind of aqua paper and I'm cutting it so that there's about an inch on either side, and I'm laying it on some white cardstock that came with the kit. And now I'm going to cut strips of this paper. It's green on one side, but the other side is a gray. So I cut 4 strips, and I use my scallop Fiskars punch to punch the different strips of paper because I want to make a border around that aqua sheet. So that's what you see me doing right here. And I've done a lot of editing to this video so that you didn't have to watch a lot of the monotonous stuff. I did quite a lot of stitching on this, or sewing, and so I didn't want you to have to watch all of that. But yeah, I'll use that green side of this paper also. I just want it like a nice neutral border, so I use So now I cut out, just using computer paper, that little white square, and I'm going to cut different strips of paper in rainbow colors from the papers that came with the collection in varying sizes. And you'll see after I cut them that I adhere them down to that white paper. So now I'm just laying the different papers, pattern papers that I cut in varying strips down on that little white piece of printer paper. I initially planned on going in normal rainbow order, you know, reds, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. But you'll see I took that Amy Tan Ready, Set, Go kind of burnt orangish red paper with the flowery pattern, and that sort of lower down in the order. I just like the way that that looked aesthetically, so I didn't really stick to the normal rainbow order. I realized that I didn't cut enough strips and that there's a little bit left on the bottom of that white paper, so now I'm looking for a powdery blue paper from the kit to add to the bottom there. And here I'm just cutting off all the excess that's on the side. Oops, sorry about that. On the side of the paper, and then you're going to see me begin the process of sewing in a zigzag stitch all the way across each strip, adhering them together. So just as an aside, that powdery blue paper had speech bubbles on the other side, and I have a plan for that in a future layout that hopefully I'll be able to at least do a completion video on. And now I'm just sewing all of these strips together using that zigzag stitch. I really wanted this layout to be very clean lines, so I made sure to stitch from one side of the paper to the complete other side. And now I'm just finalizing the layout that I had in my mind and adhering everything down. And I know that that flare is going to go somewhere on this layout because that was the inspiration for this layout in the first place. I knew the title of this layout was going to be You Brighten My Day. I just thought with the rainbow theme, the word brighten would be good, and I knew that I wanted the word brighten to be the main part of the title that caught your eye. So I used these wood grain thickers, and I altered the larger and smaller font together to write the word out, because it comes with like a smaller font and then a larger of the same font. So that's what I'm doing here, is just adhering that word down, and you'll see that I add that enamel dot as the eye, or the dot on the eye, and then I decide against it. I also knew that that flare was going to go right next to the word brighten. I end up putting it on a pop dot or a dimensional adhesive to just kind of give the page some dimension right there. Um, and then to the left of that, you'll see that I put the word you using those Amy Tan red stickers. I'm sorry, I mean below the flare. And after I add it, I end up putting 2 green enamel dots around it. So I've pulled out from my own stash these Eric thickers in yellow foam. I just felt that I wanted the word day to pop out a little more, and none of the other alphas that came with my kit or my additional kit really went. So this is sort of what I went with. And now I'm just adding the word you. I realize that I did not leave room for the word my, which I was going to write to the left of the word day. I was going to actually write it up the D, so I was going to put the M and the Y kind of going up the D in those micro mono powder blue stickers from Basic Ray, and I don't realize it till after I turn the camera off that I'm missing that, so you'll see that in the final freeze frame of the finished product. And now I'm just making sure everything looks straight and good to go, and I'm adhering everything down, knowing kind of where I want everything placed for the general structure. And this entire turquoise piece of paper, or teal, is going to go on some white avalanche cardstock, so you'll see that. And in case I'm repeating things, it's because I've done this voiceover twice, the first time of which I got interrupted. So I apologize if I'm saying the same things again. And now I decide that I want to use those doilies that are layered on the Sweetest Thing brads to kind of surround the picture of Reagan. So I take the brad off that's holding them and take those off, decide where I want them to go, and then ink them with some brown sugar Jenny Bullen ink. I've decided at this point that I made a good decision by putting that leafy kind of reddish orange Amy Tan paper towards the bottom. I really like how the doily is kind of a peachy color and brings in the background of that leafy pattern, and you'll see that they kind of layer on top of each other here. So I think without having that piece of strip of paper down there, it just wouldn't have been as complimentary. And I have a look at the Sweetest Things brads, and I choose two, I believe, I can't remember, I think a yellow one and maybe a bluish one, but they're very reminiscent of the enamel dots from my favorite, or I mean, my mind's eye as well. So I use those as the centers of the two doilies, and then the doily that I put to the left of the photo, I actually use a very small enamel dot because I didn't have a brad that was small enough to be the center of that doily. And I know I want to add those enamel dots in descending order of how big they are to smallest in two different areas of the layout. So that's what you see me doing here, and then I find another place to put them as well. At this point, it starts to bother me that I didn't sew that rainbow square directly onto the turquoise background, but it's too late now. I've already adhered too much stuff to send it through my sewing machine. So I'm trying to make a decision what I want to put around the edges, and that's when I come up with using the handwriting ledger washi tape, and you'll see I also pull out some border strips and have a look. I grab a stack of all of my labels and border strips that I have, and I know I kind of want to do a tone on tone, so I'm looking for a turquoisey aqua border, and I see that I have a remainder of one on that farmhouse. I think that's what it is, or is that the random collection from Crate Paper? So I add that to a few places on the layout. I think I cut it in half. And while I'm looking for that border strip, or while I was looking for that border strip, I saw on one of the words and phrases October afternoon sheets that there was something about liking to play, and since she's playing with her toys, I wanted to go back and find that and just add that to the bottom of the photo. I also add an arrow paper clip from my stash. Adding that little word phrase there gave me the opportunity to also put an enamel dot directly onto the photo, so I chose a yellow one and put it right on the corner, and I like how the arrow points to that little play phrase. I'm kind of missing an action at this point because I went to go get some very thin washi because I wanted to add some of that to the edges as well. And now, even though you're not seeing it, I do take this entire square and put it on some white avalanche cardstock, and I'm very happy with the final product, and I think it turned out really, really good. It's a beautiful photo and very complimented by the colors here, and so here is a freeze frame for you guys. Thanks. Bye.